All right, ladies and gentlemen, you might have just watched Monday Night Raw. You might have watched a snoozer of a Monday Night Football game, but I promise you, this is going to be worth it here because we are going to have once again our Wrestling Championship Entertainment Power Hour with two of my guys. That is the picture of perfection, Kodak Kid, and the ruler of the WCE yard, that is Kraven Rage, the Universal Wisconsinite Grand Slam champion. But we have a lot to get into here and only so much time. So you're wondering why he's got a neck brace on in the Kodak Kids? Well, I'm going to go straight to the jugular and tell us here why for those that are listening and watching. So, further ado here, I'm a Sports Report. Number one, global sports show. Pro wrestling star here from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. That is the picture of perfection, Kodak Kid. My
Man,
friend.
I never get tired of hearing that intro. That is just picture perfect.
At this point, I think I always tell people, they say, well, what are you known for at this point? What are you known in the 4 years you're doing this here on Sportzwire Radio? It hasn't been the amount of people, the amount of views we've gotten. It's those introductions. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, my friend. But we have a lot to get into here in our power hour from our friend over at Wrestling Championship Entertainment, which you're a huge part of. And it has been the talk of the professional wrestling world. It has been most certainly, Kodak Kid, the talk of the Wrestling Championship Entertainment world. What happened to you right before the season ended here, where Kraven Rage certainly laid you to waste? He certainly put you in an uncomfortable predicament there, my friend. And it was also the talk of Sean Jovi's blog. Of course, Sean Jovi was here with us not too long ago, and
Yep.
we've asked a number of different people here in the locker room now
I'm
that
not
we're
dead.
well, I'm glad you're not dead because you're with us here. So I want to get to the bottom of it. And first of all, how you feeling, my friend?
I each day I get a little better. Um, it's a slow and slightly painful process, but so basically it was a cervical fracture, probably the worst thing you could have.
Oof.
And
Oof.
yeah, the doctors they did their best, and everything's healing slowly but surely.
I didn't even know what a cervical was until you just told me that.
Yeah, it's the bone in your neck. It's like behind your yeah.
I think the only time I think I
Uh,
might have heard about that was when we were as kids playing board games. I think it was the board game Operation. It was Operation. You had the little like board game, and you had those little like tools you try to
yeah,
connect the body. And that's almost like
yeah,
you right now. So walk me through this attack, and obviously Sean Jovi came out there to try to help, and a number of different people. I think Darkfire came out afterwards, and walk me through when this is happening and this attack, and just talk to me and replay that day for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio.
Well, what happened? So I was backstage, and I was just kind of getting in the mindset for the show, getting ready for the show. I like to go out to the ring, kind of feel the ring out, and I like to get into it, kind of do a couple things to get into the mindset. And before I know it, I'm getting struck in the back with a chair, and I try to get my bearings, and I turn around and I get clocked right in the head with a chair, which everybody now knows was the coward Craven Rage, and he didn't end it there. He put that chair around my neck and he stomped on it and cracked vertebrae right there in the neck. And oh man, I was so ready for that show. I was ready to take on anybody and do what I got to do, but he ended it quickly.
We had you on, I want to say now, maybe about 4 months ago, about 3 or 4 months ago, and you seemed like kind of the guy that was almost the emerging superstar, I would say, here in
Yeah,
Wrestling Championship Entertainment. You were the guy that a lot of people felt were on the cusp. You were on the cusp of maybe
Yeah,
being in a
sure.
spot of a JDT right now, or even taking Kraven Rage and his championship away from him, because you were the guy after all that I would say gave him the biggest run for his money up until that point of the injury that you saw with the devastating attack that you were dealt with from Kraven Rage. So I want to ask you this here, watching and listening on Sportswire Radio for everybody else, especially fans of yours. I mean, do you feel like
Uh,
Kraven Rage did that attack because he knew that next time in the ring he wasn't going to be as lucky, or well, tell me why?
100%, 100%. He knew what I'm capable of. He knew that I gave him for a run for his money. And if you go back, watch the shows, I wrestled him at WC Vindication,
Yep.
and uh, I had him beat. I had him beat in the crossface in the end of the match, and then James Marshall ended up coming out interfering, and I turned around and Craven hit me with a low blow. He had to go to the low blow, and then a super kick to take me out. Fast forward a month, WC beat the Heat. Me and Craven again. I F5 him. The ref goes down. I
I
had him
remember
beat
it.
there. I had him beat there, but I didn't stop. I put him in the figure four. And if you go back, everybody, you can watch him tap out. The ref's down, so it doesn't count. I get up. He low blows me again. But that didn't stop me, and that's the only way he's beaten me. I've beaten him twice now. If you go back to everybody he's beaten, you got the resident rock star Sean Jovi, JDT,
Rockfire,
Adonis
Nicholas
Creed.
Crenson. Yep.
You go
Adonis
back to every
Elio.
single one of them.
Yep.
He won cleanly. He could not beat me twice. Two different times he couldn't beat me cleanly. So he comes and he knew that he was laying in wait because everybody knows my ritual. I go out to the ring and I do what I got to do, get ready into the mindset. And he laid wait for me, hidden behind that garage there, and then he had to take his moment. And now he thinks that I'll be done, and he thinks he took me out, but I have plenty more left in me.
All right. Well, I certainly hope that you do, and certainly we hope that you're ready by the start of next season. And of course, to remind everybody here on Sportswire Radio, we will have off-season coverage throughout here the next several months on Sportswire Radio with Wrestling Championship Entertainment. And if you like what you hear from Wrestling Championship Entertainment, I highly encourage that you do give them a like on Facebook at WCE Heat. Also, WCEHeat.com for more information, more updates when it comes to Kodak Kid. But let me ask you then a question. I mean, this is a major setback. I mean, how do you come back from an injury like this? I mean, talk to me about that.
Well, like I said, it's a very slow, painful process. I have a lot of physical therapy I go through and everything else that I need to. Fortunately, no surgeries had to be done. Everything should be healed, but it's going to take, it's going to take a while. I still got another
I would
six,
think. I
seven
mean,
months.
a cervical. I mean, I don't even know if I said that right. I mean,
Yeah, cervical. It's a vertebrae in your neck that it didn't break cleanly, so I wasn't paralyzed, but it was close. It fractured it, it cracked it, and doctors think at first it was one of those things where it's like, am I able to come back? And for a while there, it was iffy, but now I'm healing a lot faster than normal, but it's not going to be as fast enough. Hopefully by the mid of next season, I should be able to return. And there's only one way to come back, and that's for Craven Rage.
well, let me ask you a question. You said something interesting, and I'll come back to Kraven Rage in a second. But I want to talk about the injury because when you think about a neck injury, especially in professional wrestling, a neck injury is very devastating, and there's a long list of wrestlers who it's taken them a very, very long time to come back from a neck injury. I mean, Shawn Michaels was retired from a back injury, but he also had some neck injuries he dealt with as well.
Yeah,
And Edge, I mean, Edge was pretty much out, correct me if I'm wrong, about almost 10 years before he really came back.
yeah,
Had
like
Christian,
eight,
I
9 years.
believe. Yeah, Christian twice. You had Lita. I mean, there's a long list of wrestlers that have had a neck injury, and it takes them. Sting himself also had a neck injury from Seth Rollins, so I can go up and down the list, and it's almost like very hard to come back from a neck injury in professional wrestling. I mean, I know a big star, and you've got youth on your side, no question, but I mean, are you concerned at all about maybe just the background and the history of the different wrestlers who've had this type of injury that you've had, and it's taken them a long time to come back, or in some cases years. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Mentally, I'm sure I went through the same thing they went through. It just wasn't physical, and the mental status of it. It was, there was a lot of depressing days of this is what I love to do, and it's like now can I actually do that? But the one thing that I do know is everybody that you named did come back. And that's what kept me going. It's like you think about Edge and you think about Lita. They had such bad injuries, but
I
all of a
remember
sudden
reading Lita's book when she talked about the injury. I never forget this, and Lita could have almost died. It was like really like that. That was
yeah.
probably, and Stone Cold's as well. I almost have to be
Oh
remiss.
yeah,
Stone Cold's against Owen
can't
Hart.
forget Stone Cold.
I mean, we didn't even know if he was going to walk again. I mean, so this is why this is a very, very serious injury, my friend, and we hope to see you at least back to the way you were, kicking some butt and taking names, and I have a bunch of comments from people from you, and we have here, of course, Tim Franklin, who we may or may not know in Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He says, "Welcome, Kodak Kid. Great to have you back. Hope to have you back in action soon to WCE, Kodak Kid. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger." Do you feel like that's something you're going to live by as your motto in terms of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
I'm not dead, and I'm weak now, but each day when you progress in something like this, each day is almost like a year. It feels like of progression. So you give me each day and everything else, then by next year I should be stronger than ever. Now, one thing that a lot of people told me is when you break a bone or you fracture a bone and it heals, it's almost impossible to re-break it. So hopefully that's the same thing for me. I mean, hopefully, I'm not too sure, but
Well,
that wasn't all professionals that told me that, but us professionals.
well, I'm gonna make you chuckle. There was a running joke for a number of different years with friends of mine, and I would go into bars, and I'm not a drinker, but I can tell this story because it's a PG story. And to pick up girls, I would always use a line. Well, I'm a doctor, and they would say, "Well, how are you a doctor?" And I would make up some excuse, and I'll just go along and agree with you, and go back to my days, hanging out in the bars, and I would say, "Well, I'm a doctor. That's why you should go out with me." And this is the same thing here. I'll say, "Yeah, we'll agree with you, and we'll assume that your bones are never going to break again after this injury." But I mean, in a day-to-day basis, how do you get through? I mean, what does it take to make Kodak Kid get through this situation? Because, like you said, a day feels like a year. I mean, listen, I've never had an injury like this, so tell us, how do you get through each day?
Uh, just I put my pants one leg on at a time. You know, uh, uh, like I said, it wasn't just the physical. It was almost more the mental of not being watching every week or every month, I should say, of WC, watching JDT go on and win the interstate title, and all this is happening without me. That was one of those things. Is like, is it always going to be without me? But to get through each day, all I think about is taking Kraven Rage and just wringing his little neck and just taking him over my shoulders, throwing him over my head, and F5ing him through that ring, making him tap. Again, Kraven Rage made a big mistake, and that's what gets me through the day, is to see him finally be dethroned as the ruler of the yard.
Do you feel like that day is going to come? Because, we had JDT on with Kraven Rage, and JDT also certainly gave Kraven Rage a run for his money at the last show of the season, and certainly Kraven Rage did seem to show some frustration. We saw him break a little bit maybe during that match toward the end of it, and we had on James Aiden, the X-Man, and it seemed like Kraven Rage had a few things to say about him. And I mean, do you feel in a way that Kraven Rage, he's starting to crack a little bit, or what's your thoughts on that?
The pressure's getting to him, definitely. Now, I've been in the ring with JDT, and he is a monster of a man.
They
He's
don't
one of
call him
those
the
guys.
chairman for a reason. They do not call him the chairman for a reason.
Yeah, no, and I felt that chair personally. Now,
I'm well
see,
aware.
and yeah, so he's got to be. You know, you got to believe that all this rule of the yard stuff's going to get to you when you have a target on your back from everybody in the locker room. It's got to. The pressure's got to be building. But I don't. I'm going to be the reason he cracks, not the pressure. The pressure has nothing on what I have coming for Kraven Rage.
Well, I do want to give you a comment from management from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. And as always, we love Wrestling Championship Entertainment and everything that the company has provided Sportswire Radio for in coverage. And of course, WCE says here, we are so glad to see you are healing, Kodak Kid, and we are looking forward to when you are cleared to return to the ring. I think we all are because I go back to the first time we spoke on the air, and I really felt like you were one of the guys that I think I had used the line. You were almost like our Jeff Hardy of Wrestling Championship
Yep,
Entertainment. You just
you did
you
mention
were
Jeff Hardy. Yes.
you've got that vibe to you. You've got the looks, you've got the wrestling ability. You look like a champion. I mean, there's very few people. Well, listen, God gave you good genes, right? So you look
Yep.
like a champion, which I think is going to really, I think, bode well. I mean, do you feel like in a lot of ways, then you know what, that this is a setback, but maybe you are going to come back stronger than ever? And I'm sure gold is certainly on your mind and sights. And do you feel like in a way that it's only a matter of time?
It time's ticking. Yes, it's a matter of time. See, I feel like I've perfected what professional wrestling should look like. When everybody calls me the picture of perfection for a reason.
Well,
I
that's
have
true.
mastered. I have mastered professional wrestling in and out, up and down, and everybody knows it. Kraven knows it. Nicholas Prenton knows it. Darkfire knows it. The resident rock star Sean Jovi knows it. I'm excited. I was down for a while, but I'm excited to show you guys exactly what I can do because you haven't seen anything yet.
Did you feel like at the very beginning, I know it's been a few months since the injury now, but did you feel like maybe at the beginning it was hard to watch wrestling or hard to look at WCE content, whether it's here on Sportswire or certainly on YouTube or anywhere else? I mean, was that something in the beginning that was kind of difficult to be able to look at wrestling or especially
Oh,
WCE content?
100%. It's oh man, for me, I was jealous. You know what I mean? Like I was watching all these just great contests, and when you watch your Raw, you watch your SmackDown. Um, just recently, I was watching. It was I can't remember the guy's name. It was on SmackDown. I was watching the Ricochet and Santos Escobar.
You're talking
And I was
about the
watching.
finals of the World Cup on Friday show. Yep.
Yeah, yes, I was. Yeah, and it was like I was jealous. Like I can do that. I know I can do that. And to sit back and then I watched. You know, you had Three Doors Down match in WCE. That was one of those ones
Oh
where
yeah, the Jovi and Craven match. Oh yeah.
that was one of those ones. It's just like I
I think one
know
of my favorite
I
matches was Crenson and James Marshall 30-minute Iron Man match that went into sudden death. I mean, that was another match.
that was exactly. And watching that, yes, it wasn't so much as hard as it just made me want it that much more. Because like I can do that. I know I can. I know I can be there. I know I can beat those guys. I know I can go 30 minutes. I know I can put somebody through three doors. I can do that. The jealousy is that's got to be the reason. The jealousy gets me every time I watch wrestling. It is a little hard, yes.
But that's good. You know what? And before I bring in Nicholas Crenson, the new Messiah, that's a good thing because you know what? If you're not jealous, if you don't have an ego, especially in wrestling, I speak with wrestlers all over the world. I've probably spoken to, I lost count on how many wrestlers, and we'll have more
Yeah.
wrestling coverage on Sportswire Radio Wednesday afternoon here in the United States and Wednesday evening in the UK with the pro wrestling tag team of the Nomad Dalton Garrett and Champagne Charlie. So tune in for that 7 o'clock British Standard Time. But if you are in this business and you don't have an ego, and if you aren't jealous of somebody else, you're not doing it the right way, my friend.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Do you ever? Let me ask you something. You're always asking all these questions. Let me ask you.
You ask me
Do you
anything you
ever
want.
think? Do you ever think you'd get in the ring? Would you ever step through the ropes, or are you content on being the guy asking the questions?
You know, it's funny you said that. And I appreciate this comment because you're not the first person. You're not even the first wrestler that has asked me this question. So, I mean, look, in the words of Vince McMahon, you never say never. But I don't think people want to see me in the ring. They want to see you kick some butt. I mean, but obviously, I have
Yeah.
been asked this question before. And I always say, well, you never know. Listen, one of our friends on Sportswire Radio is a guy, Chris Urban, and he wrestles for a company, House of Glory, which I'm sure you've heard of, and many wrestlers
Oh
know
yeah.
a lot about. I mean, it's a who's who of people that have been in there low key. Somebody here from my neck of the woods in Brooklyn, New York, came out of there. Amazing Red, obviously the legendary TNA guy, and he's a guy who
Yeah.
started out just about say about 3 or 4 years ago, just before COVID, and he had to be about 35, 36 starting out. And there's a guy that we do a lot of work with on Sportswire Radio who's a world champion in England. Tommy Dillon started his career at 35, 36. So you know what? Listen, you could get in there
Yeah.
at any point. DDP was 40, I think, when he just started
40.
his
Yeah.
career.
No, he was old.
He was
Or
old,
not
and
old. He was up there in a lot of ages. Yeah.
no, he was definitely up
Definitely.
there in a lot of ages. So to answer your question, I mean, you know what? If somebody out there says, you know what, I should be out there in wrestling and I can train properly, I mean, listen, you never say never. I mean, so I mean, if the opportunity provides itself, I mean, obviously you guys are the professionals. I wouldn't certainly try it at home, but you never say never. But I have a bunch of people who would like to speak with you, and I'd like to get those people in because it's not about me, it's about you. And we will have on about 10 or 15 minutes from now, Kraven Rage, who I'm sure will have a lot to say. We also realize Kodak Kid is not feeling too good, so we don't want to keep him forever because he does have a significant injury here, and I could see it. Nicholas Crenton, the new Messiah, who, by the way, has a brand new tattoo, so certainly shout out to the new Messiah, says, I would say Kodak Kid would make me think of more of a Marufuji or a Will Ospreay. Definitely agree with the Will Ospreay one. He's definitely got a little bit
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
in him as well.
Osprey definitely.
Big fan of Will Ospreay. Sean Jovi, the resident rock star. By the way, Jovi's vlog over 500 subscribers. If you're on Facebook right now or anybody anywhere else, go out there and subscribe to his page. He's got the new Pokemon game. He's streaming it almost every day at this point. Go follow Sean Jovi. And also follow him because of, unfortunately, the basically your funeral, basically, on one of his vlogs. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
sure you
that.
figured that out. I love Sean Jovi. Kodak and Jovi 3 needs to happen when you return, bud. Miss you, bud. BYODC. Casey Jack
Bring
Bradley,
it
of
on
course,
back.
an up and coming trainee out in the UK. Who
Yeah.
Casey Jack Bradley? What are you doing up? It's like 4:30 a.m. your time in England. Are you like just hungover on the England win 2 days ago in the World Cup? I mean, what are you doing here? But obviously, good to have you, of course. Casey Jack comes out of GT Ministries and Nonstop Action Wrestling. Nicholas Krantz and the new Messiah says wrestling is my outlet. That makes two of us here because wrestling is pretty much what we do here on Sportswire. Me and Kodak Kid had a memorable match. Big props to you, Kodak Kid, taking in the win. Can't wait to go at it again sometime next season. I think we know who this wrestler is. All I'll say is the keywords Adonis Felios, if I can say that here, and maybe as partners, as future champions. I mean, are you looking
You
to
know,
team with anybody up?
my really quick, my first moonsault was against him, and I missed it entirely. But I got him on the roll up after that.
All right. Well, I mean, at least you got him on the roll up, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that was when partners. You know, part of me wishes WCE had tag titles, and maybe someday soon they will have tag titles. But I I'm riding solo at the moment. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, you know what? You kind of look like right now more of a singles guy. I don't quite know that you look like a tag team wrestler. There are certain wrestlers you say, all right, that guy, that girl, they're definitely a tag team. But you look like right now a
Yep.
guy that kind of wants to go at it on his own. Kind of one of those guys that's a DTA type and kind of goes at it as a lone
Yep.
wolf type. And the new Messiah, Nicholas
Yep.
Krantz, who's always back with us here on Sportswire. You know that the new Messiah will be back in the near distant future, says Craven Rage's biggest mistake was not making sure Kodak Kid was dead. You feel the same
Yeah,
way
he's
there,
got
my
that.
friend?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm not dead as much as people wanted to believe it or not believe it, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm not dead, and he made a big mistake. Nicholas Crenson knows what's up. The new
What do you
Messiah,
think?
I'm loving that, by the way.
I was going to ask you that. It's funny you said that. What do you think of the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson? And I don't want to quite say it's a new Nicholas Crenson because he reminded us it's not really a new Nicholas Crenson, but at least what have you felt the
It's,
last couple of shows we saw from Nicholas Crenson? How about that?
he's he's more refined. Um, he's more methodical, almost, and things like that. And I've been really enjoying watching the new Messiah do his thing, and hopefully I get to. It'd be an honor to go against Nicholas Crenson.
Well, we love Nicholas Crenson and the rest of the roster here on Wrestling Championship Entertainment. And Tim says you never know, anything is possible. So I guess anything is certainly possible. We'll certainly
Yeah, never
find
say
out here.
never.
You listen, I that's what I said. You asked me a question, and I told you that I would certainly not rule anything out, especially wrestling out there and getting in there in the ring. And Nicholas Crenson also says Kodak Kid is definitely a singles guy. Definitely 10 times the ability of his brother, Dandy Dan. I mean, that's pretty big words there from Nicholas Krentz. Because your
Yeah,
brother,
no,
we spoke about the first time. You know that you have big shoes to live up to. You know that.
oh yeah, definitely. Dandy Dan was he was quite infamous, but I mean famous nonetheless. So
No, I mean
I
he had a lot of success. Your brother, and we spoke about your brother the first time on the air, and we spoke about kind of his legacy. And he's one of those guys that I think a lot of wrestlers, especially in the Midwest, kind of look to, and the success that he had, and kind of the trail that he blazed. And I almost have to bring your brother back up. I mean, how's he doing? And I mean, I'm sure he's heard about the injury, and what
um
advice is he given to you?
uh I I communicate with him through the mail because he kind of went left hard, and he's spending some time behind bars at the moment. So
Maybe
I
that's
do
good for
communicate.
Craven Rage. Maybe that's a good thing for Craven Rage, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. No. I hope one day he steps foot in a WCE ring and he straightens his life out. And if he does, then I'll be the. See, if I was to have a partner, that it'd be him. It'd have to be him. Like I couldn't see myself with anybody else other than him.
And I think listen, it would be a special point, and I definitely think that again, we all have hope that one day he'll be out there, he'll be back in the ring, and WCE will be that place. And we are here on Sportswire Radio. My name is Tom Bryce. I am the host of the Sports Report. I am also the owner of Sportswire Radio. And we are here for a few more minutes with the picture of perfection, Kodak Kid, who is certainly recovering from his injury from Craven Rage, the ruler of the yard, the WCE Universal Grand Slam Wisconsinite champion. And we will have him on in a few minutes to get his thoughts on some different things. And plus, I'm sure Kodak Kid's comments. So hang on tight for that. But in the meantime, if you like what you hear from us on Facebook, please continue to give us a like and follow at Sportswire Radio. We will also be back here Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, with Wrestling Warzone star from the great state of California, the Golden State. That is Jacob Dietz. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Jacob and his story and everything else. And of course, our friends over at Wrestling Warzone. You can follow their group on Facebook at WWZ, plus much, much more. So Jacob, looking forward to speaking with you for the first time. But in the meantime, we are here with the picture of perfection, Kodak Kid, one of my guys here. And Kodak, I got to ask you then this question. I know that 22 didn't end the way we would have hoped, but how do you turn 23 into a better year than 22? Is it just recovering from this injury, getting back in the ring at some point, or how do we turn this year into a better one coming up?
Uh, I look over my shoulder for one. Once I'm all recovered, I got to make sure I. Just because Craven has the title doesn't mean he's the only one with a target on his back. But take everything with great stride. Just get better, be the best I can be, and then hopefully get some gold around this waist.
How do you feel 2022 went for you?
You know, there was some ups and downs. I had some good victories. I definitely got one on Donis Filios, Nicholas Crenton, I believe Dash Andrews, who is a great up and comer. I got him, and Sean Jovi. I had a pretty victorious year, but the thing is, when it came down to it, um, the ones that I wish I would have won were the ones that I lost. And, you know, James Marshall took me out. That was for the interstate title when he was still champion twice. Even though he screwed me, I got beaten twice by Kraven Rage, but he didn't beat me hard enough. See, he had to cheat to win. And see, I'll give it to James Marshall. He beat me clean. He beat me happily, and I'll take that loss any day. But I'm not getting over what Kraven Rage, especially now, has done.
And we're going to hear from Kraven Rage here in a few short minutes. And certainly, I think about your year and James Marshall and Kraven Rage. I mean, they got you, and they didn't get you, as some might say, in a fair and clean way. And I mean, I would have to imagine, be much more looking over your shoulder whenever you come back in the ring, because you came this close for not one, but two titles, this close.
You know, what I want to do is I want to take out Kraven Rage, take his titles, both of them. I don't know why he's carrying both, but take his title, and then I want to hold the interstate title as well as the Wisconsinite Grand Slam champion, interstate open weight champion, and then just run the business. Take everybody out, get everybody a chance.
Well, I definitely think you have a very good shot at doing that. But let me ask you this question before I get to closing thoughts from you. And we know that Kraven Rage is going to be back with us here in a few short minutes on Sportswire Radio, and we know that he's watching. And what would you want to say to him as your final words here? What would you like to say to Kraven Rage before we get to closing thoughts? Because we know he's going to be here and respond.
If I could say, how about this? How about you just give him a message for me?
All right.
I know something he doesn't know.
Oh, wow. Well, I think, ladies and gentlemen, we heard a bombshell that the Picture of Perfection, Kodak Kid, has told us that he knows something about Kraven Rage that we don't know. So that's something that I don't know how to even respond from that. And Nicholas Crenton says, just remember, Kodak Kid, when you return, that neck is going to be a prime target for anyone who faces you. Perfect example, Saraya and Dr. Britt Baker. Saraya hadn't been back in the ring in 5 years. And what was the first thing that Dr. Britt Baker did at the last AEW pay-per-view? She went for Saraya's neck. So your neck is going to be very vulnerable. So I don't know if you're going to have to.
Hopefully the doctor's right and it don't break again.
I hope it doesn't break either, because I love your style. I love what you bring to the table. I hope you don't have to change your style like Stone Cold did, going from more of a technical wrestler to a brawler, because that kind of takes away the fun of things. But I know the neck is in pain right now. I can see it. I can see everything else you're going through. So I want to give you the floor then, Kodak Kid. I want to share anything with us on Sportswire Radio if you'd like to, anything else on your mind, anything else you want to plug. And obviously, I'm so grateful you've given us the opportunity here, considering your health, considering your condition, considering you've basically risked your life to speak with us here on Sportswire Radio. So anything you want to say, my friend, fire away, and the floor is yours.
I want to thank everybody from Sportswire Radio backing me, listening in. I want to thank you, Rev Tom Bryce, everybody at home watching. Thank you so much, and I will see you next year.
All right, ladies and gentlemen here, and I think this individual we kind of know very well, who's kind of been a big inspiration to some in the locker room, says curb stop in an emoji. So I think he's kind of playfully saying that he could be curb stomping. But I mean, I'll leave that individual to another time for some of those things. I think that we'll find that out one day. But my friend, I certainly hope that you feel better. I hope that you continue your road to recovery. I look forward to speaking
Oh,
with you here in the coming weeks, and keep up the good fight, my brother. Anything that we can do, we definitely support you. And I hope to see you back out there in the ring. I hope to see you in person in 23. And keep up the good fight and stay strong, my friend.
thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Kodak Kid, the picture of perfection, and he certainly looks like he still is, even though he might be struggling with that devastating injury that Kraven Rage gave him. The update was he had a cervical injury there that was done to him, but we will certainly hear from him, I am sure, in the near and distant future. And now to join us on Sportswire Radio is our reigning, defending, Universal Grand Slam Wisconsinite champion, Samantha Further here on the Sports Report. Number one global sports show. Pro Wrestling Saw here from Wrestling Championship Entertainment. He is the ruler of the yard. That is Kraven Rage. The champ is here. The champ. How are you tonight?
Very, very good. Got a lot of stuff on my mind I need to talk about.
Oh, and we are going to be talking about that here on Sportswire Radio for sure. And going to go straight to the jugular here and cut to the chase. And Kraven Rage, obviously, you saw Kodak Kid, the picture of perfection. Certainly, he is still struggling with some injuries that I am sure that you played a huge role in. And after hearing what Kodak Kid would had to say here tonight with us on Sportswire Radio, Kraven Rage, I give you the floor now. And what would you like to say?
Let me get straight to the point and let me get it all out there. The reason why that I attacked Kodak Kid is because he kept on coming after me. He kept on coming after I beat his ass once, beat his butt twice. He kept on coming. So I wanted him out of my yard. Yeah, I know. I tried to my best to get somebody else to do it. But obviously they couldn't get the job done. So I had to take it into my hands to get him out my yard.
Let me ask you a question. I think we kind of touched upon this a couple different times, but I'll ask it to you anyway. Considering the magnitude of his injury, and I'm obviously sure that you saw some footage of him here with us live before you came on, and would you have done anything differently?
No. Honestly, I did what I was supposed to do. Because I want to show everybody how dangerous, that I am the most dangerous man in this business. Not a coward, but I'm the dangerous man in this business. I have accomplished a lot of things, Tom. A lot in my career. Every yard I have been to, Mafford, De Pere, Appleton, I own it. I run it. Everybody falls to me.
And we have a few comments here before we come back to you. The champion is here. We also have Carmine Onfrey, who says Ray Uso entered the building. Do you know Carmine Onfrey? Because this seems like somebody I haven't seen here on Sportswire. So thank you, Carmine, for tuning in with us. Certainly, I would say this is more like Roman Reigns who's here with us, because this is the most dominant champion in all of professional wrestling right now. That is the reigning, defending Universal Grand Slam Wisconsinite champion. His name is Kraven Rage. He is a part of Wrestling Championship Entertainment, who you may follow at WCE Heat on Facebook, WCEHeat.com, Wrestling Championship Entertainment on YouTube. So let me ask you then this follow-up question regarding Kodak Kid. Kraven Rage, maybe I should have asked you, do you wish you would have finished the job and where we wouldn't have even seen him on the air with us and he wouldn't even have a comeback at all because he told us tonight that he's going to come back sometime in the second half of 23. So maybe is the regret that, you know what, I didn't finish the job and where Kodak Kid could never be in a ring again. Is that maybe a fairer question?
Kodak Kid comes back, that'd be his worst mistake. He better stay at home and just stay at home, because if he come to my yard again, I will guarantee you I'm going to end him forever.
So your advice then, so your words actually for Kodak Kid. So the advice that you're giving us here live with us on Sportswire Radio, Mr. Kraven Rage, is that Kodak Kid shouldn't bother in coming back to WC again. Just retire, just go on disability, and just never come back. Is that correct?
Yeah, he should never come back, because I already proved that I'm better than him. I beat him.
But there is a point that he did have you. He had you in the F5. He had you in the figure 4, and it looked like you were in trouble. I would say up until that point, he was really the guy that probably gave you the biggest run for your money, no?
Yeah. Everybody's talking that he made me tap. He had me beat. But at the end of the day, I always find a way to win because I'm the best.
Well, you have said consistently. I will say one thing about you, Kraven Rage, over the past 5 months, and we've had you numerous times at this point. You have always consistently said you are the best and you've delivered. So I can't argue that. But there was a point that Kodak and I was speaking about, and I'm curious your thoughts on it because I'm here with you, and now you get to respond. Do you feel like, as to what he said, in that the pressure is coming to you a little bit and that it's going to be harder and harder for you to be able to kind of keep this streak going and keep this run of dominance? Is that a fair question to ask, or a fair
That is
thing?
a fair question to ask. And I got a simple answer for you, Tom.
Okay.
Nobody's on my level, Tom. I'm above everybody. So there's no pressure. I'm not worried about nobody. Everybody has witnessed how dominating I have become. Everybody has seen what I can do. Even JDT. And JDT started a battle, a war. Yeah, he might won the battle. But the next time I see JDT, I guarantee you, Tom, I'm going to end this war. And he ain't going to be so lucky.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we heard a guarantee here tonight that Kraven Rage is going to end the war with the chairman of WCE, that is JDT. Of course, he is our interstate openweight champion. Although Kraven Rage, I will say for a second on JDT, I think he's got other issues to worry about, because we had on the X-Man, James Aiden, last week. I know you had a few things to say about him. And anything you want to say about James Aiden, or anything else further on your mind toward him you'd like to say? Because he looks like another guy that could be a contender to you. He's a guy that's also had a lot of success, but is also making a big-time comeback to the ring, as it was announced by management that he is now an official member of the WCE roster starting next year.
Yeah, I heard about this. The X-Man, Superman, Batman, whatever he wanted to call himself. You know, I heard about it. But however the case may be, I would smash him too. Just like I smash everybody else. So if management wants to give this man the opportunity, so be it.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you said something interesting. I mean, are you content with the competition in WC? Do you feel like you've gotten enough competition? I mean, you've smashed everyone, you've beaten everyone, and I mean, maybe we're missing something. Maybe after all, you know what? Kodak Kid, myself, and everybody else that's come on this show over the past 5 months in WCE coverage, and maybe we're missing something. And You've beaten everybody. You've passed the test with flying colors, and you've been the most dominant champion in all of professional wrestling because Roman defends the title like once every other month, and you defend it literally at sometimes multiple times a show. I mean, are we missing something? Do you have enough competition out there? Is there anybody that you'd like to see that isn't here in WCE? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
I would look to see any comer, to be honest with you. Anybody that think they have the guts to step up, because I would knock them down, stack them, pin them, smash them, and I would just kick them out my own yard because I run this yard. I own this yard.
Well, you've certainly proven that. You've certainly proven that. And
I have accomplished a lot of things. I just won Wrestler of the Year.
I was going to ask you about that next. I was actually going to ask you. I mean, what does that mean in going over now? And let's talk a little bit about the year in review for Kraven Rage, because one of the things we've been doing here, Kraven, throughout the past, I would say, month or so on Sportswire Radio as we go into 23, we've been asking different wrestlers how they felt their year went. Well, I mean, your year is probably as good as anybody's that we've had on here. Sans for, let's say, RPD, for example, in the UK, who just won a world title as well, a major world title that's been in the ring with major guys who are in WWE. And that's a different conversation for a different time. But, I mean, your year being Wrestler of the Year, was that kind of almost a culmination of everything you've done this year? And what does it mean to you to be the WCE Wrestler of the Year?
What it means to me, because I have accomplished a lot since I've been in WCE. You got JDT. 25 years it took him to win the championship. Nicholas Crescent haven't won a championship for 16 years. My second year, I have accomplished a lot for WCE. First RCW champion. Now this championship, the longest reigning champion, Wrestler of the Year. I'm setting the standard here in WCE. Most watched match between me and Darkfire. There's nothing that I said I was gonna do that I can't do.
Let me ask you a question on that in a general sense, and I'll come back to some of the comments. I do have some comments. Do you ever, let's say, step back and say, you know what? Wow, I've accomplished this much. Me and Darkfire have a match out there that thousands of people around the world have watched. I'm a champion. I'm the longest running champion. I've only been in there a short time. And these other guys we just heard from, you mentioned 25 years win their first championship. Another guy in Nicholas Crunton now hasn't won a championship in almost 17 years. We see, obviously, Sean Jovi, another example, is a guy who's been in there a long time. James Marshall, yet you got more success than all of them. You're a part of a match that's one of the most watched matches, I would say, of any wrestler I've had on Sportswire Radio this year. And I've had on, I don't know, 150 of them. I mean, 200. I mean, somebody told me the other day, they said I've had on close to 200 wrestlers at this point in the past year, but yet you're the guy that might be maybe the most successful of them. Do you ever step back and say, wow, I've achieved all this in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, I have looked back and been like, see what I have accomplished, because when I say I was going to step up and walk in WCE, I said I was going to accomplish something that nobody has ever accomplished. And that's what I have done, is elevate this place. I accomplished that by going out time and time defending a championship and walking out as champion. And no one is on my level at all.
Well, that very well could possibly be, and we have comments. There's more competition en route. Don't worry. Maybe you know this individual, but he claims there's more competition. Somebody else here acknowledges Kraven, so certainly you are pretty much the head of the table, the ruler of the yard. You are the main oos, that's for sure. Congratulations, Superstar of the Year. Absolutely, we definitely congratulate you. And this individual, Kraven, seems like he wants to say something to you, and he says, Mecca's coming for you. Tick tock, ha ha. You say you the king of the yard? Booyah, sucker. You know anything about this? You have anything you'd like to say toward this, Mr. Kraven Rage?
Honestly, I don't know who that is, and I don't really care who that is, to be honest with you, because if they stepped in my yard, they just go fall. They just go realize they're just another victim to fall to me.
Well, that could very well be the case. And I mean, let me ask you then on this year, the year that was there a favorite match of yours? I mean, leave aside the Kodak Kid injury that you laid toward him, but was there a favorite match or favorite moment you had in 22?
Yeah, I had my top 3 matches of the year. Me and JDT, TLC match. Me and Kodak Kid, Vindication. Me and Sean Jovi, 3 Doors Down.
I think the 3 Doors Down match is probably going to be the one that I'd say maybe fans of WC might have enjoyed the most. I'd probably say I'd go JDT 1, Kodak 2, Jovi 3. I mean, they're all great matches. I mean, I think the JDT one, just because I think it kind of saw that now we're going to have a war going into 23. Certainly, Kodak did give you a run for your money, but as you did correctly point out, that he's obviously got a long road ahead of him coming back in the ring. So those are certainly fair points, and we are here on Sportswire Radio with pro wrestling star Kraven Rage. And if you like what you hear from Kraven Rage, you can follow him a part of Wrestling Championship Entertainment. You can follow Wrestling Championship Entertainment on Facebook at WCE Heat, WCEHeat.com. Also, you can go to WCE Heat on YouTube for Wrestling Championship Entertainment. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio. Let me ask you this question, Kraven. I know we still got some time here in the off season. We got a significant amount of time ahead before the season starts. But I mean, as we had this year that you had in 22, it's one for the ages, right? We talk about all the accomplishments, all the big wins. But what are your goals for 2023?
My goals is to stay dominant. And that's what I always been. I'm the most dominant, decorated superstar in this business and the most dangerous. As you witness, you see what I did to Kodak Kid. So that was just a warning of what I'm capable of doing. Anybody else that step to me, they're going to get smashed. Or they might end up like Kodak Kid.
So would that
JDT,
be
better? JDT, you better be prepared. Because next time, when we ever cross paths, I'm not just going to make you fall to me. I'm not just not going to smash you. I'm going to beat the living hell out you. And you're going to see the wrath of the ruler of the yard.
Let me ask you this question, because you said something interesting here. In fact, you've said a lot of interesting things here tonight on Sportswire Radio. Maybe more interesting than I think we anticipated here on behalf of Wrestling Championship Entertainment. But do you feel like tonight was the first salvo, the first warning shot from you toward those in the locker room? Because I felt like the past couple of weeks, or even the last month or so since the season ended, that I feel like that the locker room has certainly they've been going after you. They've basically put you on defense a little bit. And I feel like tonight, Kraven, and tell me your thoughts on this, that in a lot of ways you're coming back here and you're the one that's firing the salvos toward those in the locker room, whether it was a Sean Jovi, whether it was a Darkfire, even a Nicholas Crenson, certainly JDT. We heard from Kodak Kid a little while ago, and James Aiden, the X-Man, last week. I mean, do you feel like that now you're the one that's following and firing those shots toward them?
See, that's the thing. Everybody has been talking and running their mouth how I'm a coward, how I'm on my heels. And I'm not firing warning shots. I am firing cannons, and I am hitting directly. I'm shooting out my missiles, and they are going to destroy each and everybody in that locker room.
Well, I mean, that could very well be the case. There's no question that's a strong possibility. But I will say I have noticed, and again, this is the last several weeks, that wrestlers have been really going after you. They have tried to put you on defense. They've been the ones that have been trying to put you on your heels. But I feel like tonight, Kraven Rage, you've taken a tone that's more saying, you know what? Who's beat me? All these people, maybe they're stepping, and there's a term we've used on Sportswire with different wrestlers over the past few months, and they're almost, how can I put this, punching above their weight class. Maybe all these different wrestlers that have come on and said these different things toward you. Maybe it's the same thing that's applied with everybody else we speak with, that maybe these wrestlers are punching above their weight class. And is that something you feel as well?
None of these wrestlers on my level. None of them. I'm above everybody. So and I'm just going to show them how great I am.
Let me ask you a question, because obviously we spoke a little bit about the success that you've had. You've also won some titles in some other companies here. But is there anything, let's say, in particular toward your career that you haven't accomplished necessarily that maybe you'd like to accomplish?
I just want to accomplish one thing, and that is to be the greatest. That's all I'm trying to accomplish. Until I feel like I have accomplished that, I'm going to keep moving forward till I reach that goal. You know, I have accomplished a lot of things in my career, you know. So I don't know what the future holds, but as long as I'm standing on the top of this business, I will accomplish that goal by being the GOAT.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I mean, I've said Roman Reigns' name a couple of times tonight on Sportswire Radio, but he has not had the type of matches that you have had. He has not been in there as many times as you have been in there. He is certainly not, I think, has had the impressive run that you have had here. So there's no question that you have certainly positioned yourself to be up there as the best in 2022. And I would say that you are one of, if not the best world champion around right now. But there are some comments towards you, and this individual, who I think we know pretty well, says, I had a good match with Kraven, but it wasn't a great match because you didn't get the job done. The new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, he certainly has, once again, a salvo for you. He says, talk is cheap with Kraven Rage at this point. When I want to be there, there will be no words, just violence. I mean, any advice you might want to share for Nicholas Crenson toward that, or anything else you'd like to say?
The new Messiah, whatever Nicholas Crenson want to call himself, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same outcome anyway. He's going to fall to me. He said he took it lightly on me. Nicholas Crenson is not even on the same level as me. He couldn't even get past James Marshall. So he's not even on the same level below me. He needs to stay in his lane before he go back to the schoolboy church of wannabe Crimson.
Well, is that also, you think, maybe in part because of his lack of experience in being a champion these days? Because you had pointed out, which is something that we've discussed here on Sportswire, is that the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, now has not been a champion of any significant sorts now on going on 17 years. Is the inexperience of him winning the big one, is that maybe in part to why you say he should stay in his lane, quote unquote?
He's a choke artist. He's gonna choke on the pressure. I never choke.
So you're basically telling us he's the equivalent of a Lex Luger, or let's say anybody else that hasn't had that major success as a world champion. We'll find out. I mean, certainly the Nicholas Crenson that we've seen the past couple of months has certainly, I think, positioned himself for big things, but Kraven Rage has certainly proven in the ring with him and everybody else time and time again that he has gotten the job done. And certainly else when it comes to 23. And I mean, you've had some interesting matches. You've obviously had the war with JDT. You had the Three Doors Down. You've done TLC. And I mean, is there any other type of match you'd like to have that maybe you haven't had yet, Kraven Rage? I mean, I don't want to spoil anything for 2023 in the future, but any other type
Whatever
of match?
match, whatever match. It doesn't matter what type of match. It could be whatever match, you know. But there's one match that a lot of people would love to see. That Kraven.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead. Go ahead, say it.
You know, and that's between me and JDT. That's the match people wants to see. That's the match people is talking about. That's the match everybody wants to know. But I'm not going to tell the world. I'm just going to show up, do what I do at the best, what I can do, and that's beat the living hell out of JDT.
But well, let's talk about this for a few minutes, as we've got another about 10 or 15 minutes here with Kraven Rage, because I'm glad you came back to JDT. I'm glad you came back to him for a couple different reasons, because obviously we know that between you and JDT, you guys cannot have any physical contact with each other until you're back in the ring. That was obviously something management announced last month on the air with us. But I feel like in a lot of ways, Kraven, that even though, yes, Kodak had his moments and Kodak certainly looked like he had you down for the count, but I feel like JDT is basically not quite your kryptonite, because you obviously haven't lost the title yet, but he's basically the guy to go toe-to-toe with you. It's almost like you guys are just about equals. In a lot of ways, it's almost in a sense like it's the Bulls and the Knicks. It's almost, you think about in baseball, you think about the Yankees and Red Sox, you think about the Dodgers and the Giants, you think about in football, the Packers and the Bears. I mean, the Packers beat the Bears yesterday, so a nod for all of our Wisconsin listeners here on Sportswire Radio. But you guys have a budding rivalry where the two of yous are almost equal in a sense. And even the way I felt like you finished him, there was a sense that JDT, I mean, he's right there with you. I mean, do you feel that that's the rivalry right now that I think that people know in WC? From what I've learned over the past few months, the real challenger that you have that can really give you a run for its money, for your money, is JDT. What's your thoughts?
JDT is a tough opponent. I'm not going to take that away from him. He has accomplished a lot of things. They don't call him the chairman for nothing. But he made the biggest mistake by starting this war with me. He made that big mistake. Like I said, he thought he won the battle, but I'm going to end the war when I get my hands on him. I'm going to destroy JDT. And people going to know who is the man around here.
But slow down for a second, because you said something that I'm almost hard-pressed to even think here, Kraven. Are you meaning to tell us on Sportswire Radio that there are some that think that JDT is the man right now? aren't you the man? I mean, you've told us here you're
I'm
the
the man.
greatest.
I'm the GOAT. I'm the longest reigning champion. But JDT, he called himself the chairman of WCE. I'm the ruler of this yard. He has to answer to me, just like everybody else answers to me.
So are you saying, though, that he's trying to put doubts to some and basically kind of questioning your run here at the top? Is that what some might be implying from what you're telling us?
Yeah, everybody's talking and saying who's the top, who's the man, who's the bigger man? Is it the chairman JDT or is the ruler of the yard? It's because what he did.
Is it because of his weekend where he beats Marshall and he gives you the war that nobody gave you from a physical standpoint? I know Kodak had you down, but from a physical standpoint, the only one that could match you in terms of physical punishment was JDT. Is that what you think it is?
That's not what I think it is. It's because what he did by attacking me with that chair and knocking me down. And everybody's seen that, and everybody's been questioning. Oh, Kraven Reigns just got knocked down and fallen to the chairman. So that makes JDT the new ruler of the yard because he made Kraven Reigns fall. He came and disrespected me after I beat his ass for this. Yeah,
Well,
he
I
did
mean,
push me to my limit. Yeah, he did push me to my limit. But it's not over yet. It's not over yet. It's far from over.
oh, it's not. It's far. Listen, we have a long way to go here. Before I get to management in a second here, Craven Rage, I got to ask you this question. I know that we have the holidays coming up, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Three Kings Day comes up, New Year's Day. So it would be safe to say that when you're having holiday dinner, JDT is not sitting at your table. Would that be correct?
He better pray. He better go to Church of Crimson and sit at that table.
You think Crenson would even have him though? The way Crenson is these days, I don't know if JDT is getting any holiday dinner tables to be at because considering the competition he's going to face. But enough about that. I've got management here, and management certainly wants to say something to you, Craven Rage, and I want to bring that comment up, especially for our WCE fans here. And 2023 is going to be filled with many battles, and there will be a few wars thrown in as well. I think there's going to be more than a few wars here. No one can guess the way things will go when two WCE superstars enter the ring and only one can come out the champ. Kraven and JDT hold the prestigious belts right now, but no one knows when they will be called to the ring to face off. All I'll say is these two superstars are at the top of their games, and it can only get better from here. I think that last part, Kraven Rage, is the part that I would focus on. Is that right now, when I think about it, you guys are only getting started. You guys right now, to me, are at the top of your games. You guys right now are very well what the best, not just WCE has to offer, but also all of professional wrestling. And any response toward that?
Can you repeat that?
I said right now, the way I feel in wrestling championship entertainment and frankly all of professional wrestling is that you and JDT are essentially the best of what wrestling has to offer. You guys are at the top of your games right now, and I think it's only going to get better from here. And this is what management has said as well. Do you feel the same way?
Yes, it is. Me and JDT are at the top of our games. You know, when we come into next season, we're going to have great shows, great matches, and it's going to be a lot of things happening next season. Lot of surprises. But
Well, we're gonna have coverage throughout the off season coming up here in the very, very near and distant
But I
future. I know that.
guarantee you this, Tom,
Go ahead.
JDT, he better pray. And he's lucky management put that restriction on us right now. But when we face each other, then the world is going to know who's the best when we collide.
Can I ask you one follow-up question on JDT before I get one more follow-up on Kodak Kid and closing thoughts? And I hate to read between the lines, but I'm going to do it because that's what we do here on Sportswire Radio. And I feel like I might have asked this question, or sort of might have asked this question the last time you were here. So I'll ask it anyway. Would you want it to be, let's say, the next time you and JDT face off, should he keep his interstate open weight championship, would you want it to be title for title?
Honestly, I don't want to be for title for title.
You don't.
I truly don't, because I feel like me winning the interstate title, or me winning the interstate title, yeah, that is an accomplishment I can put in my record books. But I just want to see who's the better champion. Champion versus champion. Maybe that could happen, just to see who's the better champion, see who can come on top. If management can make that happen, yeah, I'm down for that. Because I want to show the world who is the man and who's the best. Because we both are the best. We at the top of our games, like management say. I agree with that. We are at the top of our games. Look all the accomplishments JDT has. Look what all the accomplishments I have done. Look how many victims I have made falling at my feet. And we got newcomers. We got the X-Man. All newcomers can step up. But they're going to get knocked down, and they will fall to me.
I think right now there's no question that you and JDT are the two best of what Wrestling Championship Entertainment has to offer. I think what you guys have done here, especially JDT, I'll still contend, though, that you have had the far more impressive year. But when it comes to the physical punishment and the brutality, JDT might have had the most aggressive year of anybody else. And certainly those are some other things. And I want to give you the opportunity to say anything else toward Kodak Kid before we get to closing thoughts.
Kodak Kid, stay home. You come back, be your worst mistake ever. Because next time, you probably will be buried.
All right, we'll certainly find out. And I also, before we get off the air, I want to give a congratulations to former interstate openweight champion James Marshall on becoming a father. And I certainly want to acknowledge James Marshall that he will certainly make a great father. And I'm sure that his child will certainly one day be in the wrestling world and be just as good as James Marshall, but also most importantly, he will be just as good a person as James Marshall is. And of course, James Marshall and Lacey as well, who was certainly a huge part of this. And I also want to be able to certainly give, as a reverend, my thoughts and prayers and many blessings toward the Marshall family. So congratulations, James Marshall, on being a father. I know you're going to be a great father, and you'll certainly be with us here whenever that time comes to come back and talk anything on your mind. But I also want to acknowledge Dash Andrews, who was voted Breakout Star of the Year. So, of course, our golden ticket champion. He had won the Breakout Star of the Year. And Kraven Rage, in a landslide, had won Ruler of the Yard, Wrestler of the Year. So that was a no-brainer here. So obviously we could certainly see how that was going to happen. So congratulations to Kraven Rage one more time on that. And also from management says, we are so excited for James and Lacey on welcoming their son to the world. Absolutely. We know that James and Lacey, their son, is going to be another wrestling superstar, another person that I am sure we're going to see one day in the ring. We're going to see them here on Sportswire Radio. And congratulations again to James Marshall and his beautiful girlfriend, Lacey. Obviously, we really, really appreciate what they have done and everything else. And again, I want to congratulate them and extend my well wishes on behalf of everybody here on Sportswire Radio. So thank you for them. And Kraven, I want to give you the floor now for closing thoughts. And anything else you want to share, say, anything on your mind. You are the ruler of the yard. You are the man here in WCE. You are the head of the table. And I turn it over to you, my friend, and the floor is yours.
First and foremost, I want to thank you, Reverend, for bringing me back on here again. Second of all, congratulations to James Marshall and Lacey for their child, bringing the child in this world. Third of all, and I want to thank all the fans and followers that voted for me and voted for Dash Andrews, and keep on following us, keep on supporting us, keep following us at WCHeat.com, Facebook, YouTube. We out there, and we just keep on doing our thing. And finally, to the WCE locker room. Boys, get ready. Because 2003, we rocked 2002. 2003, we will rock it again. Much bigger. So, to all the newcomers, get ready to line up and face the myth, the man, the best in this business, Kraven Rage, because he's out here, he's ready, and he's looking for another victim to fall to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we are certainly ready for 23 after what Kraven Rage has said tonight. Also, Kodak Kid, the picture of perfection. There is a lot of coverage here still ahead in 22 of Wrestling Championship Entertainment. We're going to have on Mark Packer later this month from management, obviously our general manager here. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Mark Packer. I have a lot to get into here with him. We're going to have more talent as well throughout the month and certainly throughout 23 as well. So it's not going to be too far from now. The season's going to start once again, and we'll have more wrestlers, more championships, more matches. But in the meantime, keep it tuned in here to Sportswire Radio on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, sportnarium.com/player for our radio feed, and of course on Facebook at Tom Bryce, YouTube at Sportswire Radio. And also I have here from Austin, I'm ready for 23. I think he tipped his hand on who he is, but certainly, yes, we're all ready for 23. And I want to congratulate everybody, especially management, Liz as well. We love everything what Liz has done for us on Sportswire, but most importantly for Wrestling Championship Entertainment. So, Kraven, certainly it was another eventful night with you once again. Something tells me that we'll have much more ahead from you. And I have a feeling that that's going to be in the near and distant future because I know JDT is going to have a lot to say on his mind soon. I know that Kodak Kid's going to be lurking not too far behind, whether it's going to be in a ring next year or not. He'll be back, I'm sure. And a lot of other people like the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenton, the resident rock star, Sean Jovi, James Marshall. One day when he's back with us, of course, as well, Darkfire has certainly been an emerging star. Adonis Felios, it's Dash Andrews, a long list of people here. We have the best locker room. We have the best talent. We have the best company. All of that is here at WCE. That's why you need to follow WCEHeat.com, WCE Heat on Facebook, Wrestling Championship Entertainment on YouTube, like I do. And Kraven, congratulations on winning Wrestler of the Year. I have a feeling this is only going to be the beginning from you, and I can't thank you enough. And I agree with Tim. Sportswire is still number one, and we're number one because of people like Kraven Rage and, of course, the rest of the locker room here in Wrestling Championship Entertainment. So, my friend, I look forward to speaking with you soon. And congratulations again on all you've accomplished. And I look forward to what 23 brings for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here on Sportswire Radio. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. I'll be back here Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, UK time, with pro wrestling stars from Immortal Wrestling in the UK. That is the Nomad Dalton Garrett and Champagne Charlie. They'll be in the ring for nonstop action wrestling at Nuclear Winter on December the 17th against the team of Dan Robertson, the Cult of Killjoy, and Young Horus. So I look forward to getting in touch with Champagne Charlie and Dalton Garrett on their story. Until the meantime, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I am from Sportswire Radio and the Sports Report. And I was with Kraven Rage, the reigning, defending Universal Grand Slam Wisconsinite champion. Thank you, everybody. Good night. Stay safe. Stay well. Here on the number one Global Radio.